Noon bells at the Notre Dame, not to be confused with Notre Dame, where Joe Montana went to college, but a good place to talk about the offensive line in front of Brock Purdy. I wrote about it on the San Francisco Standard. Article is part of the State of the 49ers series, which is going to go through all 8 position groups. And I decided to start at the offensive line because this is the foundation of the 49ers efforts, especially after they pay Brock Purdy. You've got to protect your investment, and you protect your investment through pass protection directly, but you also protect your investment indirectly, but very effectively through good run blocking. And that's something the 49ers struggled to do last season, especially, I think, from the center to the left side of the offensive line. Regression along the left side of the offensive line, even at left tackle, because Trent Williams got hurt and he did not play for a large portion of the season. The stat that really sticks out to me is that the 49ers were ranked number 20 in first down rushing efficiency, and that just has a negative cascading effect. Because if you can't run the ball effectively on first down, that sets up second and longer than you want, third and longer than you want, and that puts your offensive line in bad position when it comes to pass protection. And then when it did come to pass protection, the 49ers, as you can see here, were better on the right side, much better than they were in 2023. And I think that had a lot to do with Dominic Purdy, even though Purdy did hit a rookie wall late in the season. So it's one of those things where I think they expect him to take yet another stride in 2025, but he really, really helped Colton McKivitz. And people get the evaluation of this line wrong. The two most polarizing figures are Colton McKivitz and Jake Brendel, the center. And people tend to give Colton McKivitz a lot of grief, even though he really, really improved his play last season, to the point where the 49ers have a mid-range tackle at, $6 million a year? Even less than that, $5.9 million a year. So Colton McKivitz is fine. I mean, the 49ers are, I think, and I write this in the piece, I think they're going to go for an improvement in tackle play if they can find one, but it's very, very difficult to attain tackle play that's going to give you a step up in production. And I think it's a lot easier if you're San Francisco to find good guard play early on in the draft, and probably a lot more feasible to find veteran center play that can be the rising tide that lifts all boats of the offensive line. So McKivitz was fine for the 49ers last year. Wasn't terrible, wasn't great. Where the 49ers really struggled was, again, at center. I think Jake Brendel has regressed ever since he splashed onto the scene in 2022. And left guard, I think, did take a step back, along with the injury to Trent Williams at left tackle, which left the 49ers exposed late in the year. So I highlight a lot of ways that the 49ers can improve their offensive line over the course of this player acquisition process in the offseason. And I start with the need to figure out what you're going to do at left guard, assuming that you don't bring back Aaron Banks. The last time the 49ers faced a free agency situation at left guard, it was with Laken Tomlinson after the 2021 season, and they didn't re-sign him. They don't spend on guard. They haven't spent on guard. They have spent on center. They have spent on tackle. And I think if they go the budget route at left guard, you re-sign somebody like Ben Barch, who's impressive in limited action. He's only 26 years old. You think about Spencer Burford, although he might be more of a swing tackle type, a sixth or seventh offensive lineman. You need that. And I think that he could be that for the 49ers and could play left guard in a pinch for this football team. And maybe you even look at somebody like Nick Zakelj, who played a good guard this year in terms of pass protection, but in his limited time, I think the run blocking still left some to be desired. And Zakelj may also be a candidate for the 49ers in the future at center. That center spot is what I always come back to, because in this scheme, the center can make such an outsized difference, because he's the one calling the protections, he's the one identifying the safety rotations. The reach blocks that the center is tasked with are very difficult. Shanahan essentially has made a premium position out of center. And the 49ers, they picked up Matt Hennessy off of Atlanta's practice squad last year. I think at the very least he's going to compete with Jake Brendel this next season. And then maybe the 49ers go into next season with a rookie, somebody like Jake Majors out of Texas, to learn from Jake Brendel. I don't see a rookie being able to start at center for San Francisco, but I do see a rookie being able to learn under the veterans that the 49ers already have. Of course, a lot of people will say that maybe San Francisco should just go out and get Chris Dahlman's son, Drew Dahlman, who's slated to be a free agent. Speaking of Matt Hennessy, he was the successor to Alex Mack in Atlanta. Drew Dahlman was the successor to Matt Hennessy in Atlanta. And anybody related to Alex Mack, as far as center lineage goes, is going to be a popular player for the 49ers because Kyle Shanahan obviously has worked a ton with Alex Mack. Kyle Shanahan has worked a ton with good centers. There's a reason why he brought Weston Richburg into the 49ers in 2018. There's a reason why he brought Alex Mack into San Francisco in 2021. And that was after working with Mack in Cleveland and working with Mack in Atlanta. And then Mack gave him a good season in 2021, but he retired. So you could see that throughout the history of this offense, center play and having that really cerebral center who's also athletic enough to deliver on those reach blocks is extremely important. And the Mack lineage that goes to Matt Hennessy now in the 49ers, that then extends to Drew Dahlman, whose dad was the center for Steve Young in the 49ers back in the McKittrick days, right? The lighter offensive lineman, the athletic offensive lineman who also took on the protections that take some issues off the quarterback's plate. That's all in line with how the 49ers have philosophically approached the center position. So that's the one that I'm going to zero in on this offseason. The article up on the Standard discusses all the different permutations of how the 49ers can look at this. And I do talk about somebody like Nick Zakelj. I do talk about somebody like Ben Barch, who, by the way, is going to be a free agent. And I do list some tackle prospects that the 49ers might be able to look at over the course of this offseason. But investment is needed up front. And I don't think it's a dire situation. You know, a lot of people say, well, it was hopeless for the offensive line. They actually improved in the general metrics, pass protection and run blocking. And I think it's because the right side was so bad in 2023 that cumulative improvement was possible for the 49ers, but there still was regression in other areas. So it was almost like a game of whack-a-mole that they've got to uniformly figure out across the front and create one strong unified line in front of Brock Purdy that is taking definite steps forward at all positions. Just trying to make the offensive line look like Philadelphia's. I know that they're a bit injured right now heading into the Super Bowl, but boy, if Purdy had the same protection that Jalen Hurts has enjoyed in Philadelphia, I think that Brock would be close to unstoppable. All right, the noon bells are ringing here at the Notre Dame. They fixed this old cathedral. Last time I was in Paris, before this visit, was about a week or two after the big fire. The big fire caused a lot of the roof to just be destroyed at this beautiful cathedral, but they have fixed it now. It reopened a couple months ago, and what a job they did. They rebuilt it, just like the 49ers have to continue to build that offensive line. Can't think of a better place to talk about the 49ers defensive line than the Arc de Triomphe here in Paris. You know, the 49ers defensive line was once this grand construction. It's over half a decade ago, 2019. This was a historically good defensive line, and they've got to turn it into something that is resemblant of that again in 2025. 2021 and 2022, they had good units, but they weren't nearly as good as they were in that 19 season when Robert Saleh, Chris Kasarik, Joe Woods were all together. I expect Kasarik to stay aboard for the 49ers, and I expect Robert Saleh to continue running the wide nine because he took it with him to New York. But what it's really going to take is talent for San Francisco. You've got to have the Ferraris running this defensive line. That when you run the wide nine, then you've got extra space, right? You're trying to generate better angles for the edge rushers, but you're entrusting your defensive linemen with a lot of ground to eat up in the middle. I think that this 2025 draft class is special when it comes to depth of the defensive tackle and maybe even the edge rushing position. So 49ers have to stock up this year because when you look at their peak performance of the D-line, which was around early December this past year before things really fell off, it was Nick Bosa. We know he's a superstar. We know he's good. Leonard Floyd was playing really well, and I think that Leonard Floyd's a guy that you want around. Yetur Gross-Matos was also playing well for San Francisco after coming back from the knee injury. But beyond that, it was really tough to find multi-dimensional players for the 49ers. Even Malik Collins on the inside was pass rushing well, but wasn't quite great against the run. And the 49ers ranked number 29 against the run last year, and part of the fault was the defensive line. Wasn't dominant the way that it used to be with Eric Armstead and DJ Jones on the inside. So 49ers have to find some muscle that can also pass rush on the inside. It's going to be a defensive tackle hunt for San Francisco during this draft season, and I think this 2025 draft class does offer the 49ers to really up the talent of a unit that has been seeing some attrition over the course of the past half decade. The arc behind me, it has the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier from World War I, and it's also inscribed with every single French military victory since Napoleon's time, since the Napoleonic Wars. 49ers need to start adding lists of their victories to their trophy case, and they could start that by fortifying the defensive line.